Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Bryan from Keeping Up with the Nerds, coming with you with some coverage from LA Comic-Con 2023. And do we have a first video for you guys here? We're very fortunate enough to be a part of the Street Fighter 6 music panel that was at LA Comic-Con on Saturday. And we had the awesome privilege to talk to everyone that was on the panel. This first video, specifically, we are interviewing Koyo Sonae and Colin Yost and talking about the special collector's edition Street Fighter 6 vinyl that will be coming out next year in February, is what I believe. I think pre-orders start in January, but Keeping Up with the Nerds was amongst the first people besides IGN to basically see this vinyl in person. And when I say that this vinyl is really special, I'm basically saying that I've already signed up for the IGN mailing list to let me know when the pre-orders are active. So that's where my money might be going. Not might, but definitely. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and start this interview. And Bryan, take it away. Hey, what's up, you guys? This is Bryan from Keeping Up with the Nerds, here with Colin Yost and Koyo Sonae. Perfect. I did my job well. But we'll be talking Street Fighter 6 today and an exclusive first look at the collector's vinyl that will be coming out next year. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. But before we get going with the interview, what are your guys' official titles?
Well, I'm an executive music producer on the Street Fighter 6, and
I'm a director of strategic gaming partnerships over at Milan Records, and I work across all video games.
Perfect. Cool. So I think our audiences want to know. They're looking at this right in front of us here, and they want to really know about the vinyl and how they can get their hands on it and what motivated you guys to make something this great. But let's first talk about your guys' backgrounds. What got you guys to be involved in Street Fighter, your love for the game, the history behind it? What's your guys' background with it?
Yeah, I know Koyo has a very rich history, but I mean, mine comes from, just typical kind of American household growing up. Like, you go to your friend's place, you all have Street Fighter on your PS1 or whatever console it is. Just growing up with it since I was a kid and have it always be that iconic game that everybody knows. Even if you're not a gamer, everybody knows what Street Fighter is, and that's what it's always meant to me, is kind of that great legacy title that never gets old. And through Koyo, he brought us this opportunity to be able to work on Street Fighter 6 soundtrack, and that's where I came on.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say, like, even if you're not a gamer, you know Street Fighter. Like, my wife, she is a gamer but old school. She even played Street Fighter 2. Yes. Her favorite character was Blanca, or is Blanca, so it's like, for people that not even play games and still know Street Fighter, absolutely. It's an iconic brand. What about you?
Well, I started playing Street Fighter when I was 5, so
okay.
I've been kind of married to that, to the Street Fighter world. But playing Street Fighter as a fan for a long time. Played in a tournament. I played on when I was in high school, skipped classes and going to arcade and winning 65 times and.
65 tournaments or 65?
No, 65 sort of like, winning, streak, and they almost got into the real Street Fight, and, so it's
Street Fighter almost became a little too real.
but really just a huge fan of fighting games in general, but especially Street Fighter. I just love the mechanics of it. So I've been just a huge fan of Street Fighter, but this time, working with the Capcom, I had an opportunity to work with the music team at the Capcom. They have an incredible music department, sound department, and they have 3 composers in Capcom who are in charge of Street Fighter, and working with them and the audio directors, and we just kind of started working together.
Yeah, I really want to dive into the music of Street Fighter, because obviously we have the vinyl here in front of us, but we were talking earlier before the interview how music really does push the games a lot more. If the music isn't correct, or that feel, that momentum isn't correct, you're not really going to be immersed in it. And one of the things that I really loved about Street Fighter 6 when it was first announced was it went back to the streets, the graffiti, the art, everything about it was just so new, so colorful, so vibrant. and you knew that the music was just going to be banging. It was going to be great. So in terms of the music for Street Fighter 6, what were some of the inspirations that you guys got, or that you got for, you know, to make the character music?
Well, the inspiration for the music theme is really coming from the visuals. I mean, if you look at the visuals like this, I mean, there's so much information, inspiration that you pick up from it. So visually, of course, the characters are really strong. But the stories, really, I mean, there's so much of the new information that we didn't know about, like Ryu, we didn't know about Ken. There's a new story about Ken. Ken is kind of going to the dark side a little bit, you know? I mean, there's so much stuff that we just didn't know. Then in the Street Fighter 6, there's a mode called the World Tour mode, that you create your avatar and you create the character and tour, you know, all over the world and just train with, you know, the masters and, you know, Ryu and Ken and all the great characters. Then it starts revealing the sort of the secret and some of the cool stories that we didn't know about.
Yeah.
So that gave a lot of inspirations and a new perspective to the characters that we all knew.
Yeah.
Because Ryu, yeah, I mean, he's serious and he's such a cool guy, but, you know, we always thought he's like very super serious, dead serious guy, but obviously he really enjoys his life.
Yeah.
And the music is kind of groovy, and the new Ryu theme. Same thing for the other characters too, that it just reflects a lot of, not just a stylistic choice, but it just shows a lot of characters, personality of each character, and I think that's really the inspiration.
Yeah, because that's the thing, is Street Fighter is global. It's, you know, we're not just talking about characters that come from the US or Japan, we're talking about characters that are coming from Brazil, for example. Blanca, Balrog is French, I believe. Ken is American, Guile obviously American, Chun-Li Japanese, but you have so many different countries being touched by Street Fighter, and yet the music kind of has the same theme of a little bit hip-hop, but it still grasps that, you know, the core essence of the country that they're from and showing them off. That's really great to hear. Now, the vinyl, let's get to this here.
Sure, yeah.
The vinyl, what I love so much about it, obviously the art is fantastic. We'll get to this piece right here because this was cool when we saw it in the panel. But I will say the vinyl, what gets my attention is you still have the street graffiti art shown in the sleeves right here.
Yeah.
But this here is very comic book inspired. This reminds me a lot of the old school Street Fighter comic books that were coming out years ago, right? You still have that, but you still have that nice color palette to it. So what was the inspiration behind the creation of the vinyl?
I think the main things were definitely a nod to, I mean, just like the game itself, going back to the streets. I mean, I think this is a nod definitely back to its history. Like I mentioned in the panel, I mean, when you see this cover art, no matter what your favorite character is, you'll find inspiration from that character on this piece. And so the reason why this was created the way this was to kind of give life to every character, no matter who your favorite is. And then on the reverse side as well, again, it's, you know, a nod back to the graffiti, the street style, and kind of a mirroring of the two, right? So it's old meets new, and I think you find that throughout the entire set as well. You know, very modern design. It meets you know, the street and graffiti style, and inside the art book as well. I mean, you kind of, which each character's unique artwork.
That's my girl, by the way.
Right here.
Right there. I freaking love her in Street Fighter 4.
You know, it's a lot of inspiration went into this, needless to say. And then even, you know, you get to the fun little sticker pack, right? I mean, this to me is like, no matter what kind of Street Fighter fan you are, this is going to appeal to everybody. It's just got so much uniqueness to it. So it's
very appealing to the eye. I think that when it comes to vinyl collections, you really want something to just grab a hold of you, right? Especially with collectors nowadays. If it doesn't look pretty, you know, most people don't go for it. And this is far from pretty. This is like perfect to look at. You know,
we didn't want it to just, I mean, obviously it sounds good as well. That's kind of, you know, at Milan Records where I work. I mean, that's really where our passion is making these beautiful pieces of work, unique pieces too. I mean, we didn't just take like the game key art, slap it on the cover, or take some concept art from the game and do that too. These are all bespoke artwork put together in a very thoughtful package, and a lot of work from different people went into this, and even the slip mat itself, right?
Yeah, of course. Now we are going to wrap up the interview pretty soon, but I do want to highlight some things from the vinyl that were shown in the panel. So first of all, this mat that goes on the record player itself, right? So it's got a pretty cool design. Why, you know, the audience might be asking, it's like, why is it that Street Fighter's all over the place and then we've got Ken and Ryu on the top? Like, what's the purpose of this?
So, I think it's going to come. Yeah, that's okay. So the purpose here, when you actually put this on your turntable, so this is meant for the, I guess, just in case you don't collect vinyl and you don't know, it's a slip mat that's meant to sit underneath a disc. Every turntable has one, but this is, you know, this is a custom one you can put on your own turntable. And that's the reason why we made these discs clear, is so that you can actually rest the clear disc over the turntable and still be able to see the cool art. Now, what happens when you play this slip mat with any 33 RPM record, which is pretty much any record out there, it's pretty standard listening speed. It creates an animation which you can view through your phone. All you need to do is just kind of turn on your flash with your phone and just kind of play with, you know, the angle of it, but you'll eventually start to see, it's called the zoetrope design. And so it turns into, you know, kind of like those old flipbook animations. It looks like a flipbook animation that comes from the inside out and around. And it was made by this guy named Drew Tetz, who does a lot of very cool zoetrope designs for a lot of famous artists. So we tapped him to create this for Street Fighter. And again, even if, you know, the animations on here are a nod to the history, Ken and Ryu, right? I mean, that's where the inspiration for this came from as well.
Yeah, it's, hopefully I did get some of the B-roll that I can probably put in there so that way people can, our audiences can see what it looks like, because it looks great. You went over something that was pretty cool. I love vinyl press designs, and transparent vinyls are very difficult to find, but you said transparent. That is a gorgeous looking vinyl.
Yeah, I mean, you can see right there when it sits on the record player, see right through it, right? And yeah, that was the inspiration.
It's great to look at. So if you collect vinyls, honestly, what are you guys waiting for? This piece right here is something, as a Street Fighter fan, it's gorgeous to look at. One last question before we wrap up the interview. So I know Chris in the panel asked you guys what your favorite characters in Street Fighter were, right? But we're all Street Fighter players here, right? We all played Street Fighter. Yuri is my go-to girl ever since Street Fighter 4. What are your guys' favorite characters to play in Street Fighter?
You want to go first?
Well, I think I'm sticking to Zangief.
Okay.
Probably from Dash or Turbo. I think Dash, when he does a hit pad, you just kind of stun right away. I mean, that was like, wow, you can do that, really? And I just totally got into it. But ever since, I've been kind of Zangief guy, so I'm still it. And for Street Fighter 6, I mean, Zangief is really awesome. I mean, there's so many ways to do it, and the regular attack is really strong. I just love all the moves, like when you do the super art, and after there's like big screw, and he just kind of pushes the character in. Then he pushes in. I just love a tiny bit of the details in the animations. I really have appreciation for that.
Yeah, so we were talking earlier about how like the look of Street Fighter's always been great. I think we both agreed that Street Fighter 3 Third Strike is gorgeous, like one of the most gorgeous Street Fighters to look at. And Street Fighter 6, it brought that back for me.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So happy to hear that.
Yeah. What about you?
For me, maybe to a fault, I'm always a main character kind of guy, and you know, Ryu just kind of being always, to me in my memory, right? It's probably a lot of people's space of Street Fighter in many ways. I always go back to Ryu. I mean, growing up loving karate and like Dragon Ball, and like, you know, these other kind of really fighting inspired anime and stuff. You know, I love his look just as a classic, just kind of karate outfit, and so. Again, I have to say it's Ryu, which is probably the most boring answer, but...
No, definitely, it definitely is not. I will defend you on that by saying that Ryu's design in Street Fighter 6 is great, because he's an older, wiser dude.
Yeah, I like that a lot, actually. I like that they reimagined, I think, a lot of character designs, right? And, and there's obviously a lot of new great characters, too, but it's like, you know, I'm in my 30s, he kind of just goes back to what I grew up with.
Reminds you of simpler times. I mean, you think back about Ryu, and it's like, who hasn't done... You can talk about Dragon Ball, like the Kamehameha, but like, who hasn't done the Hadouken? You know, like it's iconic. Well, thank you guys for joining us here on this interview. I feel like the audiences will love this first look at the Street Fighter 6 Vinyl Collectors Edition. It'll be coming out next year, right?
Early next year, yeah. The pre-order is gonna. So there is a link. To, you can go pre-save for the pre-order through IGN, and then in January is when the actual pre-order is gonna kick off. You'll get an alert or announcement, and then that's when the pre-order starts, and then it'll be ready in February. So you'll get it within a month.
I'll tell you this, guys. I got the email from the IGN store. It was 5 seconds just to sign up for the pre-order notice. Trust me, this is going to be worth it. This is great. I held on to it for like 5 seconds and I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, this treasure, man. It's so great. But all the information to pre-order this vinyl will be in the description down below, as well as your guys' socials, if you guys don't mind sharing them afterwards, or like where people can find you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Definitely. Awesome. Okay. Thank you, guys. My name is Bryan. This is Keeping Up with the Nerds with Colin and, my gosh, Koyo. I should remember this. There's so much information in my brain right now. But Koyo and Colin, thank you so much for joining us here. Hopefully everyone will get to enjoy this sometime or soon, within the next year.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
If you guys want all the information, everything will be in the description down below. This is Bryan. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you in the next video.
And that was it for that interview right there. This is amongst one of the first videos from LA Comic-Con that you'll be seeing here on this channel. Up next, we'll be interviewing the music crew that helped create one of the newest songs for Street Fighter 6, as well as the title music. Yeah, I guess you could say the title music for Street Fighter 6. Great group of people that will be in the next video. But before I sign off on this one, I just want to thank Colin Yost and Koyo Sonae so much for allowing me to interview you guys. You guys were awesome. You guys were great. It was such a privilege to basically nerd out on everything Street Fighter and talk about music in general and the importance of it in video games. So thank you so much for that, guys. And if you guys like this video, if you guys want to know more, if you guys even want to see more of this content on this channel, please hit subscribe on this channel. Keeping Up with the Nerds, like the video, comment down below, is this a vinyl that you'll be getting? Because I definitely will, and I know a lot of you guys will. And like I said in the video before, everything about this will be in the description. So please share, like, comment, subscribe to this video. And for everyone watching, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Bryan, and I'll see you in the next one.